One thing that I'm thinking about too is, when any conversation that I have with management, it always comes back to return on investment, return on investment, return on investment. Every dollar that we're putting out has to show some return to either shareholders or the owner of the company in some way. And so I'm kind of curious to hear from you as to how do you go about showing that ROI to management? Is it and you had a great example there where it was just dollars and cents, but do you have difficulty providing that kind of information, or is that something they're looking for?
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes if the ROI comes somehow down the road. Yeah, if there's not an immediate return on the investment, if the company can't really see the numbers changing from day one of implementation of a possible implementation of some measure, some tool, some intelligence tool. So usually there needs to be a very palpable, something that you can actually grasp, some benefit that really immediately comes with it. So the argumentation we're usually taking, the road that we're usually taking, is by showing if you implement this measure, you can save on, for example, a number of different other tools that you've used before. You can consolidate, for example, resources that you've had before, and we're trying to play the numbers game with the clients. As I alluded to before, especially in the economic climate that we've got at the moment, that's really what counts. I really haven't come across an example of a company that basically says, "Well, we're fine. Go ahead. We're just buying your services. That's going to be cool. Let's see how it pans out, and then we look at renewing the contract maybe." So this is not the climate where we're in at the moment. So we've seen a lot of downsizing in terms of budgets with big, even global players who are present in Germany. So budgets are being cut. Corporate security departments are being downsized, sometimes to nil. Just some recent examples of big global players who are also in Germany. We've seen that. So it's a difficult market. It's definitely a difficult market, and it's not the easiest of times. So the cost argument is certainly something we always have to prepare in anything. And so that's number one.
Another thing which we always do is we look at certain vulnerabilities. I have a good example from this. I was approached a couple of months back, or more than a year ago, actually. There was a company based in Mexico, and the company need to ship their materials to German industry client throughout Mexico, going eastbound, and they had to use one big harbor called Veracruz. Maybe some of you guys know it. And every time the company tried to ship something and there was some sort of unrest within the local population, for some reason, the roads were closed and the shipment could not make it in time. And then we did some analysis. We found out the shipment, the local population uses this really vital highway as some sort of negotiation piece with the local government. They tell them, we don't want to have any abductions by the local cartel. If that still happens, we will block the road until you help us. And this happens with political unrest. This happens with crime, with local. There was one time where like a local mayor was corrupt or whatever, and they were just angry, and they just blocked the highway, and the company could not deliver the services. So just by using an analytic competence and having the right data, you can understand these processes. You cannot really predict them, but you can have a better understanding of the risk involved, and they actually mitigate the risks within this process and actually have less vulnerability. And the way how we sell it to the clients is, okay, you guys lose on this vulnerability every year, a fictive number right now, like 20 million euros. If we have a better understanding and have better measures, you guys will only lose 10. And then the number games start to play again in our favor. And this is something which I can recommend to everyone, is intelligence is only relevant if it actually fixes something. If it doesn't fix anything, or if it is no value to this really extent for a business case, that's just another newsletter which is really interesting, but not really relevant at all.
The leverage that we're using really comes down to what's the profit, what's the actual financial benefit. That's really the bottom line of it. Yeah.
I love that answer, guys. I found that so fascinating with the examples that you provided. I've had this conversation with other security professionals from time to time, and a lot of the times they'll be talking about, we want to be seen as just an advisor, and they don't want to get into that ROI calculation. And I think that's great when interest rates are at 0% and the economy is booming personally. But when we're in the economy that we're in right now, with interest rates now at spiking 6-7%, with profits in decline, with revenues going down, management teams are looking to raise funds and cut spending wherever they can. And so if you're just coming in and like, I have a nice newsletter, like you said, do I want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a newsletter? I don't know. But if you just told me, like with your example, I'm going to save $10 million on, my supply chain, keeping that moving, well, it makes it very easy to justify the spending on threat intelligence. And I know it's not always the easiest, but when you can find those examples, because the leverage that threat intelligence teams can have with those one or two examples a year where you save the business so much money, the ROI can be enormous if it's presented properly.
Yeah. Rob, we really love our job, and we really love what we do. We love dealing with intelligence. I've been working in intelligence for years. I've studied intelligence in London. And so, Moritz, I mean, you're also passionate about intelligence, about the procedures, about developing the process, about implementing, running intelligence through an intelligence system. That's all great. But as you said, it's about funds, not about fun. So that's really thinking about this for like 2 minutes. And that's exactly what we have to consider, and what the perspective of the client is. The client obviously wants to have an ROI, but it certainly helps when they're dealing with a provider who really likes what they're doing. So because I think that's what. It's always the same effect. That's what always makes you good at what you do, if you like what you do, if you have fun at what you do. And we've chosen this particular field of intelligence provision, processing intelligence, as a passion, really. It's almost a hobby to me, and that's what we're trying to convey. What people often say about us, we kind of burn for what we do.
And that's another really interesting topic about sales. Stories sell 100%. So sometimes it's not about. I could talk about KPIs and how many minutes a client reads through our stuff, and that we better than the competition, and the so and so percentage of return of investment. But if you want to catch someone who has no contact with intelligence at all, it's always good to tell a good story. And we've actually done that on some events where we're like keynote speakers for the German industry, and we just got their interest by telling some really sometimes funny, sometimes weird, and sometimes just really interesting and adrenaline-driven stories. And at the end of the day, they got a better understanding of what we do. There was no real monetary benefit to the story. I didn't tell them, oh, that client saved so much money, because that was not the point. The point was about telling this is actually possible. And sometimes, I hate to say it, coolness factor sells a bit too. Sometimes. It always depends on the decision maker, but yeah.